creating the jobs, we can't get people hired. And so for me, it's extremely important to be aligned with that, but also understand that we have some of the greatest skilled workers in the world right here in the Toledo area. And so it is actually a 1-2 punch in being able to turn this thing around. What we want to be able to do is be able to bring the businesses in because it's so important. We have had 38 businesses come into the city of Toledo since the beginning of January. And it is those businesses that have helped us actually increase the amount of people who are working here. We've been able to create about 3,600 new jobs, and we've been able to retain 5,800 jobs such as Chrysler and places like that, because we were willing to reach out not only to take care of what we have internally inside our city now, but we were willing to reach out to other business people. So I think that business is the key to keeping things going here. It's the key to our economic development. It's the key to us getting out of unemployment. It is the key to us getting out of poverty. And so that is why I'm so focused on business.
Councilman Collins?
Mayor Bell, you had nothing to do with the automobile industry in the city of Toledo. The reality is you actually came out and said you were for right to work. And if you're so pro-business, why don't you stop and take the time to recognize that the city of Toledo today would not have a plant known as Jeep, would not have a transmission operation over on Alexis Road powertrain, if your philosophy would be the philosophy of today. We would be shutting off the lights in the city because you've never recognized the integrity of the UAW and the integrity of the employers, because they're the ones that put that together. So when you say you created this, why don't you answer the next question for me? Name those 38 businesses, and how many businesses have left Toledo since you came in office?
I don't really know of too many that have left the city of Toledo, but let's just be perfectly clear here. When Chrysler was in the process of turning themselves around, which they had to do, there was contacts that had to be made with the city and with the state to be able to try to get some of the incentives that are necessary. So when you say that, you're totally inaccurate. You don't know what you're talking about. And the mayor, from the standpoint of the position you have, we reach out to be able to help a lot of businesses stay here. We just helped Libby Glass stay here. We just had Hickory Farms move into downtown Toledo. So when you say that we're not doing that, or I'm not doing that as a mayor, you're totally inaccurate.
When did you ever meet with UAW and Chrysler? When did you ever meet with General Motors and UAW? Tell me the day you met with them.
We had meetings in my office right in 2010 when they were going through the transition of trying to recreate some things with that plant. We had representatives in the office of the mayor talking about what we could do together along with the state. So what I'm telling you is that I'm not lying. It's in there. I'd have to go get my book. If you think in 4 years I can remember every meeting that I've had, that one right there happened in our office. It happened multiple times because we were trying to get incentives, we were trying to get classes or training that they wanted, and we were trying to do the things that Chrysler was asking of the city and of the state together.
All right, gentlemen, and just so our viewers know, we have, as part of our rules, allowed for the candidates to have some give and take, as you just saw. So it isn't going to be a set piece here where one talks and the other one talks. They get to argue with one another as well.
It makes for a more interesting debate. Our next question is for Councilman Collins. Since you mentioned potential, let's take a look at that. I know neither of you like to point fingers when it comes to blame and responsibility in past. But the river has been there since the beginning of Toledo. The airport's been there since the 60s or 70s. We've had the lake forever. Everything has been there. Our potential has never been met. Why is that?
Mr. Lefevre, I couldn't agree with you more. And I don't think we've had the experience over 20 years of sound leadership. We have done nothing more than replicate with the same tired ideas and the same tired people. We haven't changed government. We haven't made government a youthful government. We haven't made government a government with vision. The same people that are calling the shots today are the same people that didn't recognize those same shots in 1995. How many of them have really seen a transition? We are a city today that has far too many pre-retired, retired, and rehired people. We need to have new people in with new vision, and that's what I intend to bring to Toledo.
Mayor Bell, your response?
My response to him is that probably one of his biggest consultants right now is a former mayor, Carty Finkbinder. Okay, and so when he's sitting here talking about new ideas and new concepts, I think that that is just a bunch of horse malarkey, okay? And from the standpoint of what needs to happen here, this place is turning around. The city of Toledo, we were in a $48 million deficit. Portions of his people that are following him helped put us there, Okay, we've gotten out of this thing. We're now into a surplus of money. We're actually increasing the amount of jobs. Unemployment has dropped, and he's saying that we're still not where we need to be. Well, no, we're not. We need to get better. Okay, but compared to where we started, compared to what was going on before that, I think there were a long ways from where we were at in 2010.
Mayor Bell, you have no clue what you're talking about. Former Mayor Finkbeiner is not my consultant. Now let me just read a little statement to you that is a pertinent fact. And that is a statement from the city auditor, Scott Wheelock. Using the audited financial statements of the city of Toledo, the general fund deficit at the end of calendar year 2009 was approximately $8 million. Your $48 million is a myth. This man is an auditor. He went through the books. He is a city employee, and he disagrees with you. Now, you can't tell me that he made up a $40 million deficit to challenge you. He looked at the books. He's a professional. He came out of private industry. I trust his word.
Well, you may trust his word, but I'm telling you it was a $48 million deficit. We had to be able to explain this all in New York to Standards & Poor's and Moody's. And in fact, when we started, we had a negative rating in our budget. It was negative. Now it is positive, okay? It is stable, and it's moving in the right direction. So I don't know what I gave you the documents. I gave it to you at the NAACP forum, the document that explains exactly where that budget was, $48 million deficit. You can call it whatever you want. You're the only one hallucinating on this, you and maybe the auditor, okay? But the rest of the people are not. They're pretty clear that we had an issue that had to be dealt with. Now, you don't want to take no responsibility for it because you were councilman when that was going on. Now it's fixed, and now you want to say that it didn't exist. That's the way things are in history. A lot of times, we forget where we came from on that.
Mayor, I didn't hallucinate when you threw that piece of paper in my face at the debate. And that's exactly what you did.
You didn't read it.
Obviously, how do you know I didn't read it?
Because you're sitting here commenting on the same thing that actually is documented.
I told you when you brought this up that it was not true. As a matter of fact, if you go on the record, you'll see Councilman McNamara at the end of that first budget year asked me how I was able to predict where we would be at the end. And I said it was pretty simple. And I explained it to him then, and I explained it to him, and I can explain it to you now, but I don't know that we've got the time. But when you sit there and talk about hallucinating, I didn't hallucinate when you as a mayor threw a piece of paper in my face at the NAACP.
No, you will go, there you go. There is nobody that saw me throw anything in your paper. I sat it down, okay, in front of you. I didn't throw anything in your paper. I would never disrespect you like that. Okay, now you're making some stuff up, okay? The bottom line is that if you read that document, though, and it's a public document, I think you might have a copy of it, Fred, and there may be some other people. It's pretty concise on where you can find the documents to actually document that we had that $48 million deficit. So I'm not blowing smoke. That's where it was at. Now, you may not want to believe that because people didn't think we could fix this thing. But we've been able to fix it not only with what I did, but what council did and what people in the city of Toledo allowed us to do from the standpoint of being able to transfer money over for our capital improvements to be able to help us. So this thing is working. It's working in a positive way. We are balanced today, and we have a $5 million surplus.
All right, we could move on. Many of these questions are coming from our viewers and our listeners. This one comes from Julie, sent to our Facebook page. Toledoans haven't been kept informed about how plans for the Marina District are progressing since it was purchased by that Chinese investment company. How do you, Mr. Mayor, plan to make that information available should you be reelected?
Well, here's the thing. Before Hickory Farms moved to downtown, they didn't put their information out, and nobody does. They're asking me to do something that business people don't do. Okay, it doesn't make a difference who the mayor is. They're going to do their decisions internally. They're going to decide exactly what they want to do, and then when they want to move and they need the city's help to be able to do it, they'll move. But here's the other portion of that. That $3.8 million that was paid for that land makes it actually, that portion, private property. So they have a right to be able to do what they want to be able to do when they're ready to do it, okay? Now, we do have a clause in that allows for us to buy it back. Now, I don't know why we would do that, pay the $3.8 million and get it back, because right now it's actually giving us $100,000 worth of tax money back to the county every year, whereas before there was just wind blowing across it in paper. So we're making money on it. It actually helped us because we had a $48 million deficit. And we needed to find different ways to be able to balance the budget without raising people's taxes. So the bottom line for me is that they will move as a business, and they will tell me when they're ready to do that. They're no different than any other business that we have here, the Andersons, SSOE, anybody else that might want to make a move. I'm not treating them any different. When they're ready to tell us what they're going to do with their private property, we'll talk.
Mr. Collins.
Mayor Bell, on June 9th, 2011, a memorandum came out of your office. In an pertinent part, it states, Dashing Pacific is currently working on an initial design development proposal for review by the City of Toledo and the Toledo Plan Commission. Once the administration has received this proposal, it will provide it to the members of City Council. Thank you, and if you have any additional information, please advise. That was your statement on June the 9th, 2011. Now we are November the 7th, 2013, and we're still waiting.
Yeah, you are. And I think I stated pretty clearly, when business is ready to move, they will tell us what they want to do, just like any other business. Hickory Farm moved downtown. And at that time, when they were ready to tell us if they wanted to do that, that's when we got involved. That's when you all got the information. It won't happen before that. You can make that the biggest issue of being the mayor, but the bottom line is business moves at business pace. If we want to create the jobs, we got to give them the flexibility to do what's necessary to figure out what's right for them, that they're going to be able to make a profit, to be able to hire people, to be able to help the unemployed here and help our property level.
Then in essence, what you told us and what you told this community in June of 2011 wasn't true.
No, it's not that it wasn't true. That's the information we had at the time. Okay, they've changed. They've changed their concept, their ideas. There's a lot of things that have changed since 2011.
Share 'em
there's
with
a lot of other business. Well, when we started, Hickory Farms was not in the city of Toledo.
Let's talk about the Marina District. Share them with us. What have they changed?
What they have changed is they're paying us $100,000 a year. What has changed since I became mayor is that the piece of property that was sitting there for 2 years when you were a councilman with nobody on it now has at least a buyer. What has changed is they've actually bought the restaurants, the docks on the other side, and they put their money into it. The difference here is that everything before Mike Bell in that Marina District was paid by the city, meaning the lights were set up by the city, the roads were set up by the city. This is the first time somebody actually came in, put $3.8 million out of their own pocket on the table and said, okay, here, can we buy this? And here's the other part of this. Before you get on Mike Bell on this issue, council approved it. So don't get on me and act like this is some sort of situation where you weren't informed, you had no part in it or anything else, because council was involved with this whole process. They agreed to it. The situation where we were at the time was pretty rough from the standpoint of our $48 million deficit. And so this was designed to help us. And here's the other part, and you help with this. You have an ability to buy it back in about 2 years. You have that ability for the exact same amount that was paid for. So if it's that much of a hindrance, there's an ability to buy it back. But I'm telling you, this thing is making $100,000 for us a year, and we got $3.8 million to the city. So I think we're doing actually pretty good because there's nobody else that was willing to step up and do that.
Let me interject before it turns into a speech from either one of you.
Let me go down memory lane on this because...
Well, I don't think we really have time for memory lane, but this goes
well, what Mayor Bell said is not true.
But we're talking about business. And one of the problems that the city has had for a long time is a reputation as not being business friendly. It's obvious from what you both have said in the last couple of minutes, you have a difference in how you will deal with businesses. That's how I see it anyhow. Yeah. If you're elected mayor, Mr. Collins, how will you deal with businesses? Will you be like the previous mayor and make announcements before the business is ready to move? Or will you be more like Mayor Bell and allow the businesses to do what they want to do before making those announcements?
It's really not in the announcement size. What it is the city capable of being business friendly?
Are we?
It is, and we are not. No, we are not. We prime example, the car wash that went over on Heather Downs, a brand new entrepreneur puts a car wash in. They're frustrated, they're just absolutely angry because they made a decision to move in Toledo. They called my office. Yes, we were able to get it fixed, but we have to streamline our process. We have to have reasonable regulations, and we have to have timelines. They have to know in 30 days this will happen, in 45 days this will happen. And if it doesn't happen in that 30 days, then we automatically lose our position and they get what they want. And that's what the city needs to do. And the city should not hold the risk taker at hostage. The city should do everything necessary to let that entrepreneur or risk taker be able to move forward, and that's what the city needs to do.
Mayor Bell?
I think that we have to be extremely user-friendly. And do we have a perfect system here in the city of Toledo right now? No. But are we working on it? Yes. It takes time to be able to get there. You have to be able to bring people in. You have to be able to say, okay, what is not working for you? And we do that. And when things are not working, we tweak the system to make sure that we make it better. And I think that that's the thing about government. It's a big system. There's 2,600 employees inside the city of Toledo. And so when not everybody's going to be hitting on all cylinders every day. And so what you have to be able to do is sometimes you have to go back and retweak the system and try to meet the needs of those businesses. But I agree that we have to be sensitive to them. And the bottom line for me is I understand that we're competing against other cities, and that we're going to do whatever it takes to try to make sure that those businesses feel comfortable inside the city of Toledo.
Mayor Bell, let's talk about crime.
Okay.
Is there a gang problem in Toledo?
There's a gang problem from the standpoint of individuals inside a gang that occasionally get stupid, and they do stupid things. There are large groups of people that not every person that runs in a gang is a bad person, because I've run into these individuals. But there are individuals inside gangs that are bad. But I can tell you that the police chief is taking an aggressive approach to being able to deal with that. He has put up cameras. He has put together gang squads, basically, gang teams. He is actually, we're doing something with we call it Toledo Community Initiative Against Violence, where we bring them into the courtroom and we sit there and we tell these guys and gals that, hey, you get out of line, you go into jail. We're doing some very aggressive things. The numbers show it. Crime has dropped and fluctuates anywhere between 17 and 24% drop inside our city. His initiatives are working, his direct patrols are working, the things that are happening inside the city are working, and so we're trying to address it. But I can tell you that Toledo being a city of 287,000 people, there's nothing different happening here than a lot of other cities with 287,000 people. And I think what's happening, though, that makes this sort of special here is that the police chief acknowledges that we got a problem, and he's dealing with it in a very aggressive way that is actually dropping the numbers of crime inside our city.
That's an interesting comment, Mayor Bell. When you came in office, we had 23 homicides. Reported to the FBI over that same period of time through 2012, we have 39. Homicides are up 69.6%. Rape. When you came in office, we had 140 cases of rape. We had 140 complaints. In 2012, we had 172. Rape is up 23%. Robbery. In 2010, there was 1,097. In 2012, there was 1,126. Robberies are up 2.6%. Aggravated assaults. In 2010, we had 1,594. 2012, 2015, plus 26.4%. So you're suggesting the crime is down. Those numbers are the numbers that your administration reported to the United States Department of Justice through the FBI under the Uniform Crime Reports. That certainly doesn't tell me that numbers are down.
I want to stick with that question for a minute then, because you've mentioned a number of times, Councilman Collins, in council, that you believe that Chief Diggs maybe isn't giving you the right numbers, maybe fudging them a little bit, isn't on the up and up, not being transparent. Where are you getting your figures from, and why are they so different from what the city says they are?
I'm getting my figures off the report that the Toledo Police Division sends to the Department of Justice. Those are the published figures on a national basis defining not only Toledo, but every other city in the United States that receives federal funding. So those are that is the data that the city of Toledo has provided. Those are not my numbers. Those are Mayor Bell's administration's numbers. And I defy anyone to challenge me on them. Those are the numbers that are recorded by the Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation.
I have a feeling you'd like to challenge that.
Well, yeah, because he knows better, and that's okay. But what I'm prepared to do for you all as the mediators of this particular deal is that we will give you the documents and you can fact check it yourself. There's no need in continuing an argument. He's going to disagree with it. He always disagrees with it. I know what we have. I know what our police chief is saying. I know what the police officers are saying. Okay, so I know that I'm correct in what I'm saying. I would not come in here and just say something that was inappropriate. Right now it's down 17%. Okay, he may take there may be a couple of little spots here where it jumps up, but it fluctuates. But the crime year to date inside the city of Toledo is down 17 to 24%. It fluctuates.
One question then. August 23rd of this year was the deadline for you to report that to Department of Justice for the first 6 months. Have you done it yet today? The answer is no.
Wait a second. Do I look like the police chief to you? Okay, no, I'm not. So what I'm saying is that the chief has not missed any deadlines he's supposed to miss. See, one of the problems you have is you always think that you know more than the police chief or the police department. And I'm telling you that what I'm quoting, I don't have any reason not to do this. And if it was wrong, I'd tell you it was wrong. This is the figures they're giving me. This is the ones they're saying, and I'd be prepared to give you the documents so that you can decide for yourself.
Mayor Bell, this one also comes from one of our Facebook fans, WNWO. Amanda asks, why was there no show of support or statements made in the baby Elena case?
I think that there was nothing made because of the difference in that case compared to some of the other things that happened. There were some suspicious things going on, and we were not really at liberty to talk a lot about it. As you know, it didn't come out the way it started. It started with a kid that was supposedly missing and kidnapped, and it ended up into something totally different. So the support was because of the suspicion surrounding the issues involving that particular case.
I would say the investigation was very professional. You don't investigate cases to the media. You don't investigate cases to the public forum. You can't do that and then secure a prosecutable case. So I have no problems whatsoever with the way the mayor and the mayor's office and the Department of Police Operations handle that matter.
So you would not say, as someone asked during the news conference, did the ball get dropped?